Good morning. Magandang umaga po. Today, I'm going to update you regarding the travel restriction to the Philippines. That's what we'll talk about. Stay with me. There's a recent change that is effective 16 or 20 of January, and it has something to do with the travel ban, especially in the red countries, red list countries. Those coming from the red list country will no longer be required to take the Bayanihan program, or what they call the repatriation flight. They can now take commercial flights. They can come in just like anybody else. However, there are some changes to the PCR test requirement as well as quarantine requirement. It's an improvement. Let's take a look at it. As you know, there are green countries, yellow countries, and red countries. So you need to know where you're coming from. And this is what we have. For example, in the red country, Canada, Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia has been added to the red country. That's bad news. But I'll show you the chart regarding the red countries. This is the chart I obtained from IATF. Either you are in a green country, or red list country. If you're not in either of those two, you belong to the yellow country. And you will see in the red list, Canada has been added this time, and so is Saudi Arabia. They're in the red list. And the green list, you can just pause the video and take a look at it. If you're not in either green or red list, that means you are in the yellow list country. Now, let's look at the restrictions, or the revised restrictions, and PCR test and quarantine requirements. As I mentioned earlier, the following countries are classified under the red list from January 16 to January 30. That's Canada, Saudi Arabia, and 12 other countries. Bayanihan repatriation no longer required in the red country. Of course, those first two lines do not apply to green and yellow countries. Now, what are the PCR tests? Now, all of them requires 48 days, whether you're green, yellow, or red. You need a PCR test 48 hours prior to departure. It cannot be 3 or 4 days before. It has to be 48 hours, 2 days. To be safe, if you want, you can make it 1 day or even the day of departure. That's for all. Now, let's talk about, there are two types, fully vaccinated travelers and unvaccinated. First of all, let's look at the green country. If you're fully vaccinated in a green, you're coming from a green country, there is no PCR test and no longer requires to be in a facility-based quarantine. All you have to do is to self-monitor for 7 days after arrival. That's nice if you're in a green country, right? And I don't know how many of us are in the green country. Now, if you are not vaccinated, so instead of reading the whole thing, just classify yourself. Are you vaccinated? Are you not? Where are you coming from? And then just focus on those. Otherwise, it's so confusing. Now, if you're unvaccinated in a green country, there will be a facility-based quarantine for 5 days and PCR test on 5th day and self-monitor for 14 days. So you quarantine for 5 days, you get tested on the 5th day, you go home, and you self-monitor yourself for a total of 14 days. That means you deduct the 5 days you already spent in the facility-based quarantine. Now let's look at the yellow, which is most of us. If you're fully vaccinated, 5-day facility-based quarantine and PCR test on the 5th day. Then you home quarantine for up to 7 days. That means just 2 more days after your 5 facility days. If you are unvaccinated, facility-based quarantine for 7 days and PCR test on the 7th day, then self-monitor for 14 days. So you get imprisoned for 7 days, or I'm sorry, for 7 days if you're unvaccinated, and then you imprison yourself at home for another 7 days. Now, in the red country, for fully vaccinated, PCR test on the 7th day and up to 14 days, regardless of the PCR test result. 14 days total quarantine, and for the unvaccinated ones, complete a 10-day facility-based quarantine plus 4-day home quarantine. What that means is you will also be tested on the 7th day, okay? But you will complete a 10-day facility-based quarantine plus additional 4 days home quarantine. I guess I missed putting that there, but there should always be a PCR test. That's the new thing we have today. It's an improvement. I will still wait until this thing is done, or until we get into the green list, I should say. No PCR test, facility-based quarantine. Yeah, I can go with the 48-hour prior to the departure test just for safety when you're flying home. But after that, I don't want anything. I don't want any facility-based quarantine or testing. Yeah, so we just have to wait, me anyway, until we're on the green list. So that is the update we have. This is effective as of the 15th, which should be now, since Philippines is 12 hours ahead of us. And I hope this helped you out, and I will appreciate it if you share this with other people who might be interested or thinking of going home. And please do subscribe to my channel unless you have already done so, and click like, and don't forget to smash the notification bell so you get notified. Thank you so much for watching. Make it a great day, and God bless.